Hey, what is up guys, I'm Xayah, and in this video, I'm gonna teach you guys how to play patch 14.3 like a Grandmaster player. For those of you that's wondering if I'm actually Grandmaster, yes I am. Just ignore the LP because I got 8th last night before I went to bed. Getting right into it, I'm gonna show you guys the thought process, what goes through my head on how I win most of my games, and this is basically it. Depending on what comp I play is depending on what I have currently. Say for example, depending on my items, maybe I can get a blue buff. Well, what comps can play with blue buff? The best ones currently is either Veigar, Annie, or Vex. Some of these comps are conditional, and I'll explain those later. But another best item I can play in the current meta would be Shojin, and then the best units to play with Shojin would be like Draven, Annie, Brand, and Xayah. Notice that we can play Annie 2 different ways with Shojin or blue buff, so there's a lot of options that you can do. You just have to think about what goes with what. Like for example, Gwynsu's Rage Blade, there's only 2 comps currently, which is TF and Aphelios. Technically it could be Zeri, but Zeri's too weak in the current meta that you don't want to use her. And then other than that, it'll be like melee items such as IE, Bloodthirster or Hodge, and then there's like a lot of different comps you can play, but they're all conditional, so it depends on the direction you want to play it, which I will explain later. But yeah, melee comps would be like Shaco, Naafiri, Rengar, Zed, Hero Augment Poppy, and Hero Augment Vi. So this is basically my thought process that goes through my head for each of the items. I zoomed in the screen a little bit so you guys have a better sight of looking at the screen. But yeah, for unit direction, meaning I'm gonna use this unit to pivot into a different comp later, and these are the best units to hold items with. And I probably should explain this a little bit earlier, but like the best unit that could hold blue buff could be like Morgana and Veigar, and the best units to hold Shojin could be these units. Best units to hold Gwynsu's Rage Blade is these units, and the best units to hold Bloodthirster or any of the melee items are these units. So makes sense, right? Reasons why I put it in the brackets like this. And if we click here, if we want to look at the example for Morgana, what is the best direction you can play Morgana into? You just click her portrait, click on slide, it directs you to the slide that you need to go to. The 2 comps we can play on Morgana could be either Fiddlesticks or Vex. Main reason why is because Morgana is really good at holding Blight and Jewel, which is the artifact that Fiddlesticks need, or Archangel Staffs are fine that she can hold for Fiddlesticks. Unless you want to play Vex, then she's really good as a Vex item holder. And we use Vex as an example because most of us know how to play Vex. So we play Morgana into Vex, and this is how we would play the board. The best augments we can choose for this comp could be either Cyber Deck, Trial Runs, Board of Directions, Divine Ascension, or Cybernetic Uplink. And then the best artifacts we can choose could be Malazane or Lichbane. And I give you guys a little bit of a tip here to see like how to play this comp. For example, the direction you want to play this is it depends on the item for Vex Exotech. So the best ones to choose are either Hyper Fangs or Hollow Bow. And then for this comp, you really need a blue buff and a Hextech Gunblade on Vex. If you don't, she's not going to be powerful enough. And then your best openers you can play for this board could be Morgana, Jhin, Jax, and Poppy. If you want to learn how to play this comp with more in-depth guide, it'll be in the description below. But yeah, you kind of get it, right? For clicking on units, for example, these two, Xayah and Seraphine, they're both basically the same, the direction you want to play the comp, and it's just only up to a brand. You don't have to follow exactly what I show here. This is just my thought process on how I play the game. But yeah, if I do play Seraphine and Xayah, I would always play into a brand because they're the best item holders for a brand. And then this is how you play Street Demon. Basically, all you want is a tier for Shojin, and then you can just play whatever you want from there. Just play strongest AP board, then you can play brand pretty easily. You do need, like I said, Shojin, and you need some sort of magic resist shred like Static Shiv or Onyx Spark, so you can make brand one-shot the board. And I'm gonna go over this quickly because I do again have an in-depth guide for this comp as well. But essentially it's just you play all the Street Demon units besides Jinx and Rengar. If you have Emblem, then you just take out Jinx. But if you don't have Emblem, then you need Jinx in and just take out the Garen. These are the best artifacts to put on brand, which is Sniper's Focus, Malazane, DFG, and Zhonya's. And then your best opener for this comp could be a Xayah, Seraphine, plus a Mundo, and you can either throw an Echo or Alistair. Either one's fine. And the best augments you can choose for this comp would be to have Street Demon Emblem or any of the Street Demon stuff. Like freestyling is really good, and I would say tagging speed is okay. It's not the best, but if you have it as a start, then at least you can force Street Demon from that direction as well. But yeah, as much as I want to go over everything about this, you guys will probably go look into it yourself anyways. I'm gonna cover the key highlights of most of these things that I will show here, because for example, there's no point for me to show you, oh, let's play Gwynsu's Rage Blade, and oh, let's play Aphelios, and there's 2 different directions you can play Aphelios, either Golden Ox or Marksmen Vanguard. Well, the thing is, Marksmen Vanguard Aphelios is very easy, right? There's no point for me to waste my time explaining this to you guys. So I'm just gonna go over like the hard conditional comps that you need to know, because I know a lot of people would play those comps without knowing the conditions. So we're gonna go over stuff like that. Stuff like, example, augment direction. For these augments, I would click on it to have a set direction of comps I want to play, and most likely I actually went out doing that. For example, new high score. Well, what comp does that lead us to? Is Veigar. In order to play Veigar, the conditions you want is either picking this augment, new high score, or the direction of having a Malazane. If you don't have either of those, you cannot play this comp. Essentially, in order to play this comp, the opener is having a Poppy, Jax, and Veigar plus 1 techie. You make Poppy as your main tank, and then you have Veigar with blue buff, Nashers, and Gunblade. I did win a game with Guardbreaker with Jewel Gauntlet. That works as well. But yeah, the whole board essentially is with 4 Techie, which is Shyvana, Bran, and Mordekaiser. And if you want to play a cap out version, it will be with Strategist because it makes Poppy a lot more tankier with the Nico, Echo, and Ziggs. And because you're going to have Street Demon in with Bran, depending on the shape of it, depending on your position, in order to fit for Cyber Boss, you kind of need to hit level 9. But essentially what I do is at level 8, if I have Kubuko already, then I just take out Echo or a Nico. Either one's fine. And you can just throw in the Street Demon later at level 9. But yeah, this is how you play the comp. You need to have Mana Zane or new high score augment. If not, you cannot play this comp. The other direction augment I take is board of directors, but this leads to Vex Exotech. Again, if you're gonna pick this augment, you have to know what your Exotech item is, because if it's not a good one for VARs, then you cannot play this comp. Technically, you can with an 81 like Flux Capacitator, put it on Jhin, but it's not strong enough. If you want to win, you need these two items, Hyperfangs and Hollowbow and VARs. And then for Cooking Spot's case, it will lead us to either playing Bruiser Fiddlesticks or Executioner Regnar. And for those of you that's wondering, it's not literally full-on Executioner Rengar, which is pretty decent to do. You can play that if you want to, but most of the time I like to play with Street Demon Rengar, and this style is pretty easy. It's just hit level 7, reroll for Rengar 3, Jinx 3, put the Executioner emblem on Jinx, and then you basically just win out with that. But the thing about it is, the other condition you do need to play Rengar with is essentially with any of these artifacts right here, because if you have any of these artifacts, you could probably get a top 2 easily. I do have a more in-depth guide of this comp. It will be in the description down below as well. Unless you want to see a gameplay video of 5 Executioner, I did also play that as well. The gameplay video is also in the description. Okay, to speed up the video, if you see Flatline, this leads to Aphelios, which is pretty simple. Flatline is actually really powerful for this comp because it makes you execute units. And then for the important part, Potable Forge, this is actually really important because you need to know what artifacts lead to what. And for example, like Fiddlesticks, you need to have at least a Blind Jeweled or Sniper's Focus in order to play him. If you don't, it'll be unplayable. Unless you have Bruiser Emblem, it's okay, but this is a better condition to win out with Fiddlesticks. And then same thing like the Rengar that I said before. If you have Silvermare or if you have Prowler's Claw, then it'll allow you to win games with Rengar. And then Veigar, like I said, as conditioned earlier, you need either Mana Zane or the Augment in order to play him. For Naafiri is pretty interesting. If you have this item, Spectre, Cutlass, she will actually win out your games really easily. Essentially is just reroll your whole board with Nitro, Naafiri, and you can either play with Jax 3 or Sejuani, either one's fine. If you have reroll augments such as Starry Night or Pandora's Bench is really good. And like I said earlier, Spectral Cutlass, it will just improve the board even more. If you get Spectral Cutlass, just take out Edge of Night. Even though Edge of Night is one of her core items, you don't really need it anymore if you have this item because she's just not going to be targeted anymore if she goes to the backline. To summarize it all is get Pulse Stabilizer, Hyperfangs, or Spectral Cutlass. Either one's fine. Now the other comp here that's going to be interesting is Shaco. Shaco reroll is actually really good at the moment. If you have the condition of if you start with Shaco 2, you have a sword opener, or if you have any of the artifacts that you see here, all of these are really good on Shaco. So essentially it's just any of the ranged ones like Sniper's Focus, Rapid Fire Cannon, or even Fish and Bones. If not, you could pick for more the bursty ones like Prowler's Claw or Luden's Tempest, or you could pick the one that gets to the back line like Spectral Cutlass. If you have any of these artifacts, just take out Edge of Night and use IE and Hodge. Basically about it. The good thing about this comp is since Vayne reroll is not a thing anymore, you can reroll for level 3 Vayne as well. An interesting comp here we're going to be talking about is TF because he's actually a lot different now than he used to be. I still see people play Kog'Maw and Skarner as the reroll with TF, but this is no longer the case anymore. The way how we play TF now is with his new item loadout, Rage Blade with Archangel Staff and then Gunblade. If you have artifact items like for example Sniper's Focus or Gambler's Blade, then you don't need Archangel Staff anymore. But if you have Wit's End, then trade out Wit's End with Gunblade because they both heal you. There's no point to have both Wit's End and Gunblade on the same board because you just be missing out on your raw damage with Archangel Staff. But yeah, essentially it's like the same thing like the old Vayne from last patch where at level 6 you want to roll for TF2 to stabilize and then hit fast 7 to 3-star Braum. Braum is very important for this comp because they buffed his Kingpin hat, meaning he gains double the armor and magic resist if he gains the Syndicate bonus. The best advice I can give you with augments is Blazing Soul is super OP on Twisted Fate. Basically about it for this comp. Now the other important augment direction we'll be talking about here is emblems, and the reason why this is important because you can force your comps based off what you have here. So one of the examples I can show real quick is Anima Squad Crest, and this is actually pretty simple. All of us know how to play this comp. The only tip I can give you about this comp is if you have Mana Flow, which is the augment, then you don't really need Shojin anymore on Xayah because it's technically a built-in Shojin for Xayah. Other than that, just keep playing the Anima Squad that you know you've been playing it. The main thing you just want to do for this comp is you need the emblem because if you don't have emblem, the comp is not strong enough. Technically, it's still not strong even with emblem, but if you have enough econ on the fast 9 and 2-star everything, then you should be fine. Another augment is also super powerful for this comp is pairs of 4 because you only have 2 4-cost units, and a little bit more attack speed on Xayah does help. And I forgot to show it here, but support Spire, which is the Anima squad augment, where it gives them like support stuff, that one's really OP as well. That'll be a good direction to also force Anima squad if you have that augment with an emblem. If you have either Boombot Crest or if you have Bruiser Crest, technically Boombot Crest, there's a different style of playing it, but it's too advanced for me to explain it, and I feel like it'll be too complicated to do it. It's one of those things where if you know it, keep doing it. If you don't know it, then it's fine. We could just do the easy stuff, like for example, Fiddlesticks with artifacts or emblem. And essentially to play Fiddlesticks, you need Archangel Staffs, like at least one of them, and you play with either Blind Jewel or Sniper's Focus, and you need Bruiser Emblem. In order to play this comp, the end board should be 4 Bruiser with 4 Boombot. If you don't have Bruiser Emblem, you have to hit 9 to finish the board. But yeah, essentially to summarize it, the angle you need to play Fiddlesticks with is either a Bruiser Emblem or any of these artifacts you see here. Getting into Golden Ox is pretty interesting because there's 2 different directions you can play. You can play either from an Annie perspective or you can play it from a Aphelios perspective. We'll just use Annie for an example because Aphelios is easier to play. And from here is the Golden Ox one. Essentially to play this comp is you have to have a Golden Ox emblem no matter what. This works both ways, but both Aphelios style and an Annie style. The only thing that's important is you need to BIS Annie, so you need Blue Buff, Shojin, and Nashers. This is the case with any style of playing Annie, you need to BIS her no matter what. You can use artifacts like Mana Zane for example, instead of like Blue Buff, you can do Shojin Mana Zane, or if you have Lichbane, you can do Lichbane over Nashor's Tooth. But yeah, essentially it's pretty simple. It's just try to put as much points as you can into the Golden Ox totem, fast 8, and then roll for your board. You can use Yuumi over Samira until you find Samira kind of thing, and then level 9 you just throw out Garen to put all the Golden Ox on other units such as Mordekaiser. You can throw it on Samira herself and then just make Garen hold the emblem, that's fine. And then main tank I like to do is Leona most of the time because she's pretty easy to find and she's a really strong solid tank. But yeah, that's basically about it for the Golden Ox style. If you want to play the Aphelios style, instead of Samira, it's just Xayah instead. Pretty simple. I'm gonna go over like 4 more things so we can end the video quick as possible. Essentially, it's just the direction of having the Cypher opener. If you play Cypher opener, you can play 3 different comps. You can do Draven Cypher, and to do this is you need to loot streak, have about at least over 40 gold worth of stacks. If you do, your resources will be really good. But yeah, you just keep loot streaking until you can cash out 3-star Draven, and Luden's Tempest is really powerful on him. So you can just take out Last Whisper and then put IE, Shojin, Luden's Tempest, 3-star Draven, and then 3-star Galio, and then have this as your whole board. And then Zed items is the typical Zed items, and that's basically about it for this version. The Zed version is essentially the same board, but the artifact we're going to be talking about here is, instead of Bloodthirster, you can throw in either Mittens, Death Defiance, or Infinity Force. Another Zed version I could talk about here is actually pretty important because Divinicorp Zed is actually really powerful, and I know a lot of people might pick the augment Board of Directors. Don't pick that augment because you need more than 3 Divinicorps to play this comp. If you pick that augment, it forces you to only play 3 or less. So that's the tip I can give you about that. But Divine Ascension is very powerful for this comp, and then not today because you can get Edge and Knight for Zed, and Divinicorp Crest is very important. In order to play this comp, you need the Divinicorp emblem. Essentially, it's just instead of Bloodthirster, you put the emblem on Zed so you can gain all the benefits of Divinicorp stats. And until you find a Garen to modify Zed into Divinicorp, then the emblem will pop out and you just put +1 item on him. But yeah, that's basically about it for this style of Zed. If you're wondering what augment is Board of Directors, this is it, because this is the direction of Vex Exotech. 2 more important things I'm going to be talking about for this patch is the hero augments. Essentially, you click on this slide and it will lead you to the hero augments that is the powerful ones to play in the current meta. All of us know how to play Alter Ego. I feel like Cease and Desist is pretty easy. Bud Mash is kinda difficult, but essentially it's just a Veigar board with having AP Poppy, so that's pretty easy to explain. The main one I want to talk about here is Chug Bug because this one's actually pretty important. If you click on this augment, you want to have at least a QSS or a Bloodthirster start, because if you don't, you're going to be too weak and you're going to be having a useless augment until you 3-star Gragas to hopefully maybe top 4. Most likely you won't because your early game was weak. But essentially this board is the same thing as the Fiddlesticks style. You play 6 Bruiser and Fiddlesticks will be the secondary carry with Archangel Staffs and then +1 item like Bloodthirster Jewel Gauntlet. And then you can level 7, 3-star Gragas, Mordekaiser, and Fiddlesticks. That's basically about it for this board. It's pretty easy. And then level 8, just throw in a +1 unit like Renekton or some sort of Divinicorp so you can empower your Gragas even more. A good artifact you can put on for Gragas is Talisman of Ascension. You can trade it over Titans, and then after a certain amount of time, you always one-shot everything. The last important comp to talk about here is Annie A.M.P. This comp, I feel like the only direction you can play it is unless you play like with the Cypher opener, mainly because you need a lot of resources for this comp. I actually got first place with this comp by doing that. I'll have a gameplay video of it pretty soon, but essentially it's just play Cypher opener, loot streak, gain the resources, and then play this whole board. You do need to level 9 to complete the board. So that's the issue with this comp. That's the reason why having Cypher is the best with it. And you need to BIS Annie and have a lot of econ. That's essentially the tip I can give for this comp. So if you're looking for a different direction with Cypher, this is a really good one to do if other people are also playing Cypher with you. But yeah, that's basically about it. How to play like a Grandmaster player like me, Xteria, and patch 14.3. If you have any questions about any of the information that you see in the Google Doc, just let me know in the comment section down below. I'll try to help you out and hopefully answer the questions that you need to be answered. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.